to the Trinity Force Podcast. Yo, it's that Triforce cast beaming straight to your home. Grab a beer so we know Pone ain't drinking alone. Send an email, a quick tweet, just pick up the phone. Leave a message, hit the beep if you're a creep, watch your tone. Discuss the meta game, patch notes, whatever helps your stats most. Obi Pone Kenobi is your last hope to snatch gold. So grab your headphones and join in the fun. We'll try and force in some jokes and some cringeworthy puns. Yo, we can make it together, people. Trinity Force Podcast. These boys are second to none. Now that's the end of the intro. It's time we begun.
Hey guys, welcome to Trinity Force Podcast. My name is Adam Ponophobia Cogswell. You're listening to episode number 316 on this lovely December night. It is December 7th, for those of you that aren't watching the live show, as we kick off our community podcast series. It's not even a podcast series, just the community series, where we're going to bring on a bunch of people from all around the League of Legends community, including the podcasting community, the YouTube community, just everybody we can. And hopefully it leads up to a really awesome event in the middle of January that is an announcement of an announcement of an announcement type of thing. I love doing these. I hate these.
It's
and I love
only
them.
the 30th time we've done this.
What, announcements of announcements?
You just shut your mouth for a while.
I can't. I get too excited about things. And then I want to tell the world. So, again, I'm Adam, so let's go through everybody then. Cereal Box is here.
How's it going?
Punch is here.
Hey, everybody.
Chira.
What's up?
And special guest from the League of Legends Anonymous podcast is JustCasual.
Hello, guys.
Welcome to the party, man.
Thanks
How
for
you doing?
having me.
Now get out.
All right. And that's our community showcase. How much we hate everybody.
Wow,
Come on,
terrible.
make fun of them for an hour. We're going to do it to Sky and Blackanola too. We'll just make fun of them for an hour, and then we'll kick them off. And then we'll be shunned by the rest of the League of Legends community.
Yeah, that's how the
the ultimate
Trinity
goal.
Force podcast died. See you later, folks.
It's okay. I'll cherish this moment forever.
Well, we're cherishing it too. So before we get into so today we are going to talk about PBE discussion, but I first want to jump in and just kind of talk about podcasting and a little bit about you and League of Legends Anonymous and all that kind of stuff. Kind of the same thing we did around with Guido in a bit, because we want to get to know you more and have other people get to know you as well and the community that you're building. So why don't you just go ahead and tell us again who you are, what you're doing, everything that I've hinted at.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Sam Han, aka JustCasual in League. And basically, so I've been playing this game since I think Caitlyn was the newest champion. So it's been a while, season 1, before I guess competitive was really like going on. Took a little bit of a hiatus sometime in one of the seasons, and because of that, I started like trying to get back into it. I really didn't have all my friends started quitting the game because they thought school was more important, yada yada yada, all that stuff. And I'm like, okay, this game kind of sucks when you don't have people to play with. So I started looking out for communities, and so that's where I found basically Low Elo, RIP, poor guys, but Low Elo and Trinity Force podcast. So that's where I found you guys. I think I jumped into Low Elo games and then eventually T-Force games, like with the community, really early on, maybe like late season 2, late season 3 or something like that. And through that, I just played. I was very bad, and now I'm just bad. I was like, let's see, my lowest point was around like 900 Elo, so that's bronze 5, probably solid bronze 5. From season 3, I went from bronze, or I think I placed in a silver 5 and got up to plat 5 listening to T-Force mainly, and Low Elo and Lee Kess and all those other guys that are on there, because I started working or doing co-ops and internships. I'm like, hey, let's listen to the League podcast while I'm walking or driving or whatever. So from there, now I'm like, okay, not very, very bad, but just bad, I guess. Still have tons to learn. But then from there, I think I jumped into a podcast called Sarcastic Summoners, which was a short stint, and that's where I met Blake, who's Wise Papa Smurf. And after that podcast ended, we decided, hey, let's make our own podcast, because I love talking about League, and this is really fun, and I enjoyed my time at Sarcastic Summoners. So then we started up a podcast with me, Blake, and Ernie, aka Nova XT, and we're 77 episodes in. I don't remember because I haven't been on the last 2 weeks. Because I've been I got a new job, just moved in, to a new place last week. I also got a new puppy that's 9 weeks old now. So,
So you have responsibility, is what you're saying.
yeah, basically. And it's like, whoa, what happened to League? But, I'm still listening to podcasts, all that stuff. But that's the summary of it. Yeah.
Well, that's a decent summary. So,
Yeah, that's my life story.
well, congratulations, another one. And
Told in 10 minutes, if that.
yeah, it's been interesting watching how the League scene's been growing into different podcasts that come out and around, because so there's a lot of times where you'll see podcasts. I think I've talked about it before. People will jump out and say, "Hey, I want to make a League podcast. What should I do?" And it's really interesting to hear when people say, I want to start a League podcast, and they just jump on it and they start talking about it, or any podcast, for example. So from your guys' point of view and your success, or whatever you've had coming in the way you guys have grown, what do you think is the biggest takeaway you've taken from it as a relative? I want to say probably a relatively new podcaster in the scene. Do you have a big takeaway or anything that you would, if anybody asked you what you would tell them?
Man, it's like the same things, because I reached out to you actually really, really early on that too, and it's the same thing that everyone says, like, you have to be consistent, and you have to really like do it not for like the fame or glory. You're not trying to, sure, increasing numbers is good and all that exposure, but you really your main focus should be what you're talking about. So I enjoyed what I was talking about, and really mostly I'm glad I have Ernie and Blake, because those guys, like Blake knows a lot about supports and he knows a lot about the game. And then Ernie, he just knows the smallest details ever. He's just like, oh yeah, that's like 4% health on that ability. And you're like, what the heck? Like, who plays Urgot or something? Just something crazy. And like, that's really great. Me, I'm not a very detail-oriented person necessarily, even though I'm kind of an engineer, I guess. But I like big picture stuff. So when it comes, I like especially low elo, they talked about like your attitude and how you should be approaching games and those kind of things, and how you should climb or whatever their suggestions are. I like thinking about the macro game and be like, okay, what do you need to do on yourself to fix things, or what do you need to do when this kind of thing happens in the game, rather than like, okay, I need to press R, then wait 2 seconds, press E, and then W, and then like those details, which some people are really good at. I just don't have the mechanics, and I'm just not good enough to be able to really take advantage of that in my League game. So with those guys, I really, really love talking to those guys and kind of leading what we're talking about and picking those guys' brains, because half the things we're talking about,
Is that you or me?
No, no.
Okay.
I hit my mute button. Yeah.
Too excited.
Yeah, really excited. Yeah, so what happens is that I am talking to them and they're like, oh, you wouldn't build static shiv on blah, blah, blah because of this, and you'd build rapid fire cannon, I think it is, or whatever. Whatever those things are, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. And I'd be like, but wait, why wouldn't this work? And then they'd be like, okay, you're an idiot, Sam, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But those kind of conversations, and I think a lot of people that are listening to the podcast, a lot of people that start podcasts, and a lot of people that play League like a lot, they really, really like to talk about these details. And I had the fortune to do that. And that's honestly the biggest thing, because most likely you'll start off and the first 10 episodes, you're like, okay, only my mom and my girlfriend are listening, And then it's tough. It's really tough. And I think it's really a commitment in like what you want to talk about, and not worrying too much about who's listening. And then also being really consistent, because it is hard to put out a consistent podcast, whether it's bi-weekly, weekly, 3 times a week, 2 times a week, whatever your schedule is. There's always something that can take time away from it, which may or may not be more important, but it's hard to be consistent. It's hard
enough to find the right group of people to be able to sit down at the same time,
that is so
weekly,
true.
just to do something like that. And when it comes to producing content, the way at least I've always looked at this, and this is just stuff I've picked up from listening to tons of podcasts over the years, is make content that you'd like to listen to, and there's probably people that want to listen to it as well. Yeah,
that's it's hard to choose those right things, and hard to balance between what you want to talk about as well. Like, I really don't like talking about patch notes too much, because unless there's something really cool, like for example a Poppy rework or something, I don't really care if the numbers changed on Lucian a little bit, unless it really like, okay, hey guys, make sure you're paying attention, because Lucian is now OP, even though it's just this base damage change. It's actually really strong, and you should be playing him. I'd rather
We
talk
might drive
about.
you crazy later then.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're on the wrong podcast for that one.
But
Well, I
those
thought
are
about
so
that
good.
I'm an engineer too, and I thought the same kind of thing with all those notes. Is like until I started actually looking at them and was like, okay, I can see the little tweaks too. But yeah, the engineering mind comes into play pretty frequently when it comes to, I don't know, analysis.
Well,
in my mind, at
a
least.
moment ago, you spoke to it, piggybacking off of Ernie and the other members of the podcast with questions that may seem stupid. Now, this is going to sound like I'm calling this person stupid, but it's not to be that way. So the Four Awards podcast, for example, this is going to be a little insider info. I actually brought Doom onto the podcast, being bronze at the time, because I wanted him to ask questions from the bronze mindset when the show started to get the other guys to talk about it from a higher level mindset. And because of that, he's not only learning, and he's not only learning how to teach people of his same caliber of, as a player, but he's also he's learning himself. But he's driving the conversation forward because he's talking about it from a point of view that other people may be thinking about it the same way, if that makes sense. And so far it's been working out great. And it's not, and he's grown a lot because of that, but it helped push the podcast forward. So it's really cool to hear you say that, because you unintentionally do the same thing.
Yeah. Actually, I like to think I did it intentionally. I'll take the heat.
That's fine.
And make myself look stupid for the greater good of the community.
But sometimes it's the best way to do it, though.
You can
Because you'll
also
be
take
like,
the credit.
yeah, but sometimes you'll be like that. Like, why am I not building static shift? That's been overpowered forever. Why am I building rapid fire cannon now? This makes more sense to me. And then somebody else will say, well, here's the numbers, and we need to look at the numbers. And it all comes back into play. You have to look at the numbers of an item when it comes to League of Legends to understand why it's more powerful and how it synergizes with the kit. And the kit is also, the whole damn game's numbers.
Well, you can also, if you don't know something, do the defensive mechanism where you basically act like you know what you're talking about, but you pose the question, such as, why would static shift be best in this situation, or why wouldn't it be, Adam? And then you just deflect off to somebody else. I've never done that in my life.
That's not my secret strategy at all. Yeah, and that's also like we have Luke and Brad on the show too, which they're lower ranked, but they ask the good questions. They host really well too, so they're kind of there for me when everyone's schedule is getting busier, and especially burnout is a huge thing too. When you're doing it like on a weekly thing, like burnout when you're like, okay, my friends want to go out, or I'm really trying to build the community, so I got to hang out with these guys, even though I may or may not like them, which, no, we like all of our listeners, of course. No. Yes, exactly. And
Me too.
Totally.
so we love
You guys
the
are the best.
rotating
We love
cast.
you.
Yeah. So we have the rotating cast, and we have those guys. I'm like, hey, you guys like to talk about League. You guys are good at talking about League, and you ask the right questions. So I don't care if you're bronze or silver or plat or diamond. If you can ask the right questions, like that helps conversation. That helps just the podcast itself move smoother, and that also helps us get better content for us. Because I'm growing a lot doing the podcast, and also our listeners as well.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever seen with this, I mean, we've fallen in this trap too, is you ride that fine line of people that are trying to tout the wrong information as the right information without knowing they're doing it, because they are so they argue so vehemently against or for whatever their point is, and so that's something that we've had to fight. We had to fight early
The beauty
on.
of these discussions and these multiple point of views is that you can have that discussion on this medium, and then the listeners can hear that, take in all that information, and make their own judgment call.
Sure.
Well,
feel
and
like
if you have the right group of people, your friends who are doing the show with you aren't afraid to call you out on saying stupid shit.
Yeah, that's important.
And I'll use a perfect example. A couple episodes when I said they took the mana off Sheen and they didn't. So there you go, throwing myself under the bus for that one.
We're just baiting good conversation, right, Jira?
They
I
took
know,
the
I'm
ability
trying.
power off Sheen, you dumb.
I know. I realized that as words shot out of my mouth in a spew of terrible information, and I was immedately reprimanded by the crew. So we fixed that.
Which made it better, Sean, because now you don't have to get ability power when you get the. I just wanted to.
I'm still gonna build the item. So
It made the item better. Of
Yeah,
course
it
you're
did.
gonna build it.
I know. Love it.
I liked the ability power.
Sometimes I did too.
What for that 0.1 AP ratio it gave you on your
Yes.
healing?
Man, it
Dude,
used
Corky-
to give. It used to
I don't know,
give
man.
old
Corky feels a little bit
starter-
weaker.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's just that
Nope.
little bit of
Disagree.
damage.
A little bit
off
of
his
burst.
ult.
Seems gone.
Why do you like?
His
Thunderlords?
TDR.
his W damage got
yeah.
reduced just a little bit.
And now you're
That's
supposed
it.
to jump into people now with the big package, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I got baited the other day by Crazy Phil. He's like, I'm coming in, so I go in early, and he flies and completely misses everybody. He's like, way up. I'm like, you son of a bitch.
That does a
That's
ton of
funny.
damage now too. Like that actually hurts like the equalizer, and then you can jump out again afterwards. Like it
I've
doesn't, it doesn't
actually
put on cooldown.
seen multiple people say, Corky, use your Rumble ult.
Well, as long as you yell Leroy as you do it, it's okay.
You're fine.
Can't
Everything
you
will
get knocked
work
out of
out
the air
great.
when that happens?
Yeah, you'll get swarmed by a bunch of minions, but other than that, you're okay.
All right. Well, excuse me. Hold on. I just had dinner, and it's kind of doing its thing.
Yeah.
Good talk.
Moving through the system.
Something like that. Great podcast discussion, guys. Way to make it awkward.
I don't know. I'm having a great time.
All right, so Sam, I mean, you have made the League of Legends Anonymous podcast. You guys started what? That would be over a year ago now. Is that a year and a half going at
Yeah,
77
it's about
episodes?
a year and a half.
Gonna say, because I remember you were talking about consistency and whatnot, doing a podcast a week. So, do you know when that puts you at episode 100? Have you even tried to figure that out yet?
No, I have already.
Well, that's 4
too many to
podcasts
think
a
about.
month. 16. So, what, you're looking at 3 months out?
Yeah,
No, a little
Yeah.
more than that. About 4 months out.
sure.
3
I
4
don't
months.
care.
Come on, it's a big milestone. 100 episodes. That's a lot of
And then
episodes.
I'm gonna have
Shut
to
up.
do a whole bunch of planning for something fun. Like our last year one, we did a. I kind of screwed this up. I spent way too much time trying to figure it out. We did like a game show thing where we had like a Jeopardy, Price is Right kind of like. We just had like a lot of fun with it. Unfortunately, like there had to be so much editing because I was like trying to manipulate Twitch or OBS and manipulate like PowerPoint and all this stuff. And then the audio, I had to cut it like so much and splice it to make it not like ridiculously long. And I'm like, well, this is kind of pointless if you can't see all my pretty graphics. And so I got to think of something better this year.
You can do what we
Yeah, Mott-
did and have everyone
Mott did
call
the
in.
same thing.
Wait,
Mott did the same thing, except he had no graphics. He went the like bare bones route and just asked us questions and had us hold up random shit to say. Go,
Hey.
go talk.
Yeah, but Matt also bought the mixer board so he could pipe in sounds and bullshit. 'Cause he didn't do that whole Poppy intro at one point.
Poppy
Oh,
You
Watch.
say 1 point as though it only happened once.
The Poppy one.
It happened
There was so much build up too.
a lot. Why do you think I left?
Well,
That's not true.
yeah, why did we bring you on this show when you got kicked off that other one? God damn.
Yeah. Jeez.
All right,
got
Sam.
voted
Well,
out.
I'm gonna give you a little bit last of the floor here. If you have anything else to say, anything else you want to talk about before we jump into patch discussion, I don't want to cut you off.
No, sure. I mean, check out League of Legends Anonymous podcast when you have extra time after you're done listening to Trinity Force and all the other good ones. They're all good.
Everybody's doing.
There's
a great
plenty of
job.
time. Go download them all.
Yep.
There is plenty of time. League of Legends Anonymous on iTunes, also the LOLA podcast. We got lolapodcast.com, Twitter, all that stuff. You guys know how to use Google.
Do you still have a bunch of people hanging out in Dolby?
In Dolby, we do. We're thinking about switching over to what is it called? Discord. Discord has been pretty awesome, but nothing
have
official
never
has
heard
been
of
done
it.
yet.
I've heard of it, never
Discord-
used it.
So you could basically you create a server on it, which is basically unlimited and it's free. And then if someone doesn't have it, you give them a link to your room and they can open up in their browser. So you can have the
that's sweet.
application, and you could use it on your phone as well. So if you're just want to chit chat with your guys or whatever, and you're on your phone and not your computer, you can open that up and join a chat room that way as well, which is pretty cool. I haven't tried that yet, but yeah, Discord looks good. We just haven't made that. Well, I guess this is the first time we're saying
Made
it
the jump.
publicly. I don't even. But yeah, we're thinking about it.
That'd be good. I like that idea because that's probably the only gateway we have to, or the hoop we have to jump through is getting people into TeamSpeak. They have to have a TeamSpeak downloaded, which
Right.
the majority of people have TeamSpeak or Ventrilo already on their computer, so it's pretty easy.
No one has Dolby
And-
X on.
But nobody has
And
Dolby.
it's crazy that people are like really, really loyal to their voice program of choice. I know a bunch of people are like mumble or die, and
Yeah, right.
you could. It doesn't take that much
You can
space to
download
download any
both.
of the other
I think I have 5 or 6
Yeah.
Yeah,
because everyone uses a different one.
I still have Curse Voice, which I haven't opened in probably 8 months, maybe. Yeah.
I open my curse voice every time my computer starts up, and I hate it because it does that.
Turn it off. MS config.
I know I will. I'm upgrading to Windows 10, so then maybe I'll take it off then.
I
Yeah,
need-
that's That's all I have, Adam. So we can move on to my favorite patch note stuff.
Good, you're gonna answer every single question, then even though you haven't played.
Yes, and I'm gonna apologize. And the thing is, I don't have to come back on to T-Force and apologize for bad information. You guys will have to apologize for me.
Oh no, we're not apologizing for you. You're gonna have to take care of it when they come and listen to you. That's it. There is no afterwards apology. I'm sorry.
That wasn't me. I don't know who that was.
That you just say that was like Wise Papa. He was on here. Blake was on here. He was the one talking.
Just blame him. That's the
yeah,
best
that's
thing to
good.
do.
Yep.
I kind of figured that's what you guys did anyway. Isn't he your scapegoat?
Ernie's. Oh, everyone's a scapegoat. It just depends on the day or the week, I guess.
That's the reason we brought cereal on here so we can have one.
So we can talk shit. It's been me for so long. I'm glad that we're slowly
Passing the mantle.
torch off to
Yeah,
someone else. Yeah.
I'm really happy about it, guys.
You can take my get shit on cloak and wear it with pride.
I mean, I might just make a custom shirt for myself that just says "get shit on" and wear that every single podcast.
Are you gonna have the big poop emoji on it too?
Yeah,
with
the
eyes?
happy poop.
I would actually watch live if you had that shirt.
This is how we increase viewership, guys. Advertising, selling ourselves out like that.
Poop T-shirts, great.
All proceeds go to the Claude.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yeah, speaking of, tespring.com/KingDC. Go buy a King DeClaude t-shirt. What are we at? I think we were at like 76 this morning total. Let's look as it loads. Yeah, 76 total have been sold. And all those proceeds buying a King DeClaude t-shirt goes to supporting, well, it's not supporting DeClaude. It's MS Research, but it is supporting DeClaude as this could potentially help him in the future.
2 weeks left.
It indirectly affects DeClaude.
So yeah, let's jump into patch notes. Well, it's not really patch notes. It's PBE discussion. This was another large patch cycle that's coming through. We're going to see a bunch of
Soon
changes.
to be patch notes, though.
Right.
Yeah, more than less. So I kind of want to
And,
jump in them and talk about some of them because next week we have 2 guests on the show. We have Skyen and Black and Nola on next week, so we will not be getting to patch notes. We're going to try to run through as many of here as we can and then come back around to them when we get another moment. So this should be. So sorry if you don't get your patch 5.24 notes from us. We're sorry.
You can check out League of Legends Anonymous podcast for that.
There you
Except
go.
for he said earlier he doesn't talk about it, so that's just this is what it is. No. All right, yeah, let's start from the top here because Anivia, Ashe, Bard, Brand, Caitlyn, those are my first on the list. They're all getting changes. So Anivia on the PBE right now, they're changing the glacial storm, so the chill duration is lowered to 1 second from 2, and the break range down to 1,000 from 1,200. So does that mean you have to be closer?
No, the break range means that it's how far away Anivia can go before it just stops. So it's a smaller. It breaks sooner than before.
Yep. You can't travel as far before that sucker breaks.
Seems like a
Have you guys seen any Anivia in the preseason?
I haven't seen.
Trying to figure out why these
whatsoever.
changes are coming around.
I've seen it a little bit, but nothing like out of the ordinary. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's triggering these changes. If not, this is like a pre-change to some of the notes.
Have people been comboing Anivia Ashe?
No, I haven't seen it.
I have. Well, now I think I've seen Anivia 3 times in the past month, but it hasn't been anything that's too terribly scary. So I don't know. These changes seem kind of unwarranted, considering I don't think she'd been touched for a while, other than some quality of life stuff.
Well, they're reverting a change. They're not nerfing her here because
that was the Q change. The reverting. They're not revert. That was.
Yeah, but so they're buffing that back up, like getting her more slow on her Q.
Okay.
And then taking it away from ultimate, so that because if you think
so you
about
have to be able to land Q better.
The way I read this is that he just crossed it out because that was on an old PBE cycle and they removed it on this PBE cycle, so they didn't change Q on this cycle.
Yeah, Q should stay the same.
I think they were just testing something because the idea behind like lowering the duration on something like her ult is that you're saying before you had to leave her ult for 2 whole seconds before you lost the slow on it, which seems a little bit long for something that's permaslowed until you leave. So I actually think that's kind of, again, I know Anivia is not being played right now, but that seems like something that kind of makes sense.
Children, that's a pretty significant. I say it's a pretty significant nerf. Removing 1 second off of the time that you're chilled for because of the combos.
It's half of the total time. That's enormous because now that effectively halves your time to be able to get a crit on your icicle, on your E.
Actually, thinking about it, there's a couple of a number of significant nerfs, or at least tiny nerfs to DPS DPS mage champs in this patch, because there's a brand one, there's this one, There's a Malzahar nerf, and I think they're hurting the people who benefited most from Deathfire Touch. So they're I think they're trying to scale them down a little bit just in case that ends up getting out of control, which Deathfire Touch did get touched in this as well a little bit. So maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe the combo of like Anivia ult plus Deathfire Touch plus like, oh my gosh, the upgrade that deals damage over time. The item deals damage over time. Leandry's. Sorry. Yeah. So maybe that combo that they saw a little bit too strong on.
They're also reducing a couple of their CC durations from other people. I'm looking at Swain in particular, which also seems to come out of left field. Maybe they're standardizing durations a bit.
Well, it's
not touching on those AP
Why don't
champs.
we roll down to masteries and stuff? Because I think that's a bigger change than like the individual changes. Because I'm sure those individual changes also have to deal with what the masteries are being changed.
Yeah, masteries probably pushing a lot of this.
Right. So right now, Ferocity, Feast, the cooldown is increased to 25 from 20 seconds. That's the tier 2 talent. That
gives you like health on minion kill.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to actually
20
pull up.
health on unit.
Sorry.
Killing a unit.
Yeah, it's like 20 health on a minion kill.
So reducing sustain a little bit. Sorry if you hear some background noise there. I'm blogging the league so I can look at the masteries as well, so I have them in front of me. I've seen them enough. I know how to gank my masteries. I can remember what the hell they're called. Okay, there. Deathfire Touch, which is the one that we've been talking about doing quite a bit of damage and making Brand
the most
and others
damage
stick out.
Now they added a block of text.
Yeah, damage changed. Base damage changed to 8 plus 50% bonus AD and 20% AP over 4 seconds from 6 plus 50% AD and 20% AV over 3 seconds. So increasing base damage, but making it take
kind
longer.
of.
Yeah.
No, so I actually did a little math on this before I left because I saw this right before we left. Because there's also a few duration things, but essentially what it does is it buffs damage that will be dealt like singularly, but it nerfs damage over time abilities that utilize Deathfire Touch, like we're talking about Nivea or Brand, and takes away damage from that because it's reapplying so quickly. You don't get as much damage every tick, but you have more ticks now. So if it keeps reapplying, you're actually losing damage based on this little change. It's not a lot, but it's gonna hurt those champs that were benefiting so much from Deathfire Touch early on.
Right, burn duration for damage over time is decreased to 1 second from 1.5 seconds. So you're also losing damage on that, right? Or is it the same total amount of damage in less time?
No, it'll be less damage, I believe. I have to think about that for a sec, but
burn duration for damage over time decreased to 1 second from 1.5 seconds.
Yes, it will. It's a huge difference because they changed the other durations to match what was going on before. So we said it's the 3 to 4 second change. AoE went from 1.5 to 2, so it's always been half of the normal amount. And then the overtime burn damage or burn duration got just nerfed completely because it needed to be. You ended up getting way too much damage off of damage over time abilities, so now it's dealing significantly less because of that dip that you. So you're getting like a quarter of the damage, or it's probably like a third of the damage from DOT abilities.
So that's a huge target for Brand, who's been high on the ban list recently.
Yeah, when you get the damage off of your
yeah.
passive, you get your passive too is the crazier part. Because I mean, you already are getting it with Malzahar too, but like every tick of your passive starts reapplying Deathfire Touch, which I think is dumb.
Yes, it is. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, so that's a big nerf to him specifically, which I think we talked about this last week. It was one of the biggest bans right now. Is him and Malz
is arguably the biggest ban right now. He's a monster, and he's really annoying to play against. With this change should help that out a whole lot. But until I see it in action, I'll hold some reservations.
They're changing another tier 6 in Ferocity. It's called Fervor of Battle. It now only stacks in champion hits. Using abilities no longer stacks. They must hit enemy champions, so you can't just shoot an ability off and get a stack. Melee attacks now generate 2 stacks. Spell hits now generate 2 stacks, and duration increases 6 seconds from 5 seconds. So it only works if you're smacking the enemy champion, which is a giant nerf to such characters as Jax or other people who might use it out of the jungle as well. I think this is a pretty significant nerf.
No. That does not hurt jungle at all because it never did damage to non-champions.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking it did jungle.
Nope. So
Camps.
what we did find out that like stuff like Riven Q could just build up stacks constantly,
Right.
which doesn't make sense to give free damage to her for just jumping around before a fight. So I like the change, and the fact that you're able to stack it up pretty quick though, because that's really not that's two melee attacks and a spell gets you full stacks, and you're dealing all that damage you were already. But I didn't see many people building this one or using this mastery too often. As is.
Thunderlord's Decree
This
is
was
too
popular
damn
for
good.
marksmen, though. It was very good for marksmen. If you're pushing the wave, or if you're just last hit, you can usually keep it up and then harass with it, and you got a huge stack of bonus damage. So you can
Now,
chunk
not
people down
anymore.
pretty early with that.
But not anymore now.
Not anymore. I mean, they took away the OP. Well, I guess they didn't take away the God damn it, the heal on crit from marksman.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Bloodlords.
I mean, that still works pretty much the same for them.
Bloodlords.
But fervor of battle was turned into the new go-to for a while. So I have to go
Warlords,
back to that.
Bloodlust.
Warlords Bloodlust. Bloodlords Warlust.
I'll save you, Serial. It's cool.
Thanks.
So those are the two. Those look like the two changes. Did they revert the Thunderlord's Decree change as well?
No, they
No, they have it right here. It's just the way that Moobit has his patch
Thing.
notes is weird.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, I see how he has it set up. Okay, cunning. So now we're going on the cunning tree. That was a ferocity tree. Cunning tree. Assassin is a new. What's that? Third tier. Yeah. Yes.
Tier 2.
Second tier. Second tier. New second tier mastery being added, so you'll have 3 choices in that tree instead of 2. Mastery added to tier 2 of the cunning tree, making the tier of 3 total options. Deals 1.5% increased damage when no allied champions are nearby. So now you have a choice between Runic Affinity, which is buffs from neutral monsters last 15% longer. Biscuits, or you gain 1.5%
More
increased
damage?
Who would have guessed that a tree that they wanted to be more assassin based, a lot of people that were playing assassins didn't like going it because their second tier option was either longer buffs from jungle camps or biscuits.
Hey, those biscuits are tasty. Take that back.
I mean, I love biscuits personally, but on certain champions they don't love biscuits as much.
Yeah, that nearby, they did a little picture here, and it looks to be about 1,000, maybe like 1,100 range that you have to be away from an allied champion to get that buff. So that could be pretty good for solo
You can
laners.
still achieve in a team fight if you're diving the back line.
Yeah. What I don't know is if this is gonna and I don't want to think that this will be like a stealth thing that anyone's gonna ever check. But let's say a mid laner has the assassin mastery and there's a jungler coming up to gank for them, and that your opponent sees that buff disappear from you. I don't know if it's visible to enemies, but that could be something that's kind of weird, like the old Fiddlesticks passive, kind of letting you know that he was around.
If it does work that way, I'm sure they'll remove it.
Yeah.
So I
feel
can't see
it
that
should
being
be
intentional.
stealthy.
I can see myself picking up Assassin over Runic Affinity out of the jungle. Specifically if I'm playing someone like Rengar or
Kha'Zix.
Nocturne. Kha'Zix, I'm sure, yeah.
Nocturne would be good.
I mean, this is a total of 1.5% increased damage with nothing that there's no drawback to get
Right,
it. So that's extra damage. That's an additional. That's essentially like putting that 1.5% on double-edged swords you're taking anyway, and that's more
Without
damage means
any
you're clearing more
deterrent
quickly.
to getting it.
Yeah. So now you're doing an extra 4.5% damage total, because you're going to pick up at least 12 in ferocity and then whatever in cunning, so you're going to be doing more damage. So you can actually clear the jungle more quickly. So I'm curious if this pushes some people further ahead of the jungle. Yeah, because what do you need 50% duration of buffs when you're able to push through it a little faster and you don't need the refillable potion because you're taking down a buff a second or two quicker?
Wait, the refillable potion. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry. Well, you wouldn't be going that anyways. You'd have
If you have biscuits, you wouldn't be getting.
Well, no, you wouldn't have
No,
biscuits.
you'd be going Hunter's Potion by then, I would assume.
Well, no, you wouldn't need it though. Like you could just take your 3. You don't need to start refillable because you're doing more damage. So you're taking you're technically taking less damage if you're doing more damage.
Because you're killing.
Yeah, no,
these guys.
sorry.
you're killing
I was
things
saying that you wouldn't be getting biscuits anyways because you would go Hunter's Potion.
If I
You
said
can't get
biscuits-
at that.
Well,
I didn't. What the biscuit conversation? If I said something, I didn't even mean to talk about biscuits. I don't know what the fuck this is happening. Jesus Christ! Precision has haven't changed. Actually, a really significant change. Armor penetration has been increased, and so has magic penetration per level. It now goes up to 0.5 and 0.3 per level.
but it also based the buff on it buffed the base on that too. I'll flip those words around.
Yeah, you have the numbers right in front of you, don't you?
Yeah, it went from, so you started with 3.3 and went up to about 8.3, I believe. So that's over time. Over you get to level 18, you have 8.3 armor and magic pen. Now it's okay. So the wording on this says just armor penetration. I'm not sure if that's
the
correct
magic
or not.
penetration is It's right now
staying
it's
the same?
3 plus 0.3 per armor and magic. So it's 3 plus 0.3 right now.
So I think armor penetration only has been increased now, kind of to match it up with how hybrid pen runes work, where it's more armor penetration than magic pen. Where armor penetration will now go from 5.5 at level 1 up to 15, I believe. So it might be like 14. I forget what the number exactly was, but it was right around there. So you're getting a big increase in armor penetration kind of over time. And I think it's just really to get it in line with how hybrid pen works in general, because that armor penetration was kind of weak, honestly, considering almost every champion has. I think every champion has armor per level besides Thresh. So you needed that a little bit more to make it a bit more tasty, because that was kind of falling to the wayside when you talk about the 5% CDR and buffing that the cap on CDR as well.
God, this change. I love this change. I love this cunning tree change. It makes me want to go down cunning every single time, specifically with a Thunderlord's Decree change, where bonus AD ratio from increased to 30% from 20%.
This just got way better.
Hooray! Wow. Another reason to take it.
Yep.
Like they keep buffing it, and I'm really excited because I know there's gonna be a breaking point when everyone realizes that Thunderlords is really good,
and then that's the only thing people
really
go.
Good right
and
now.
then a week later, they nerf it, and it goes right back to what it was at the start, and we start at goddamn square one, and then they slowly creep it back up.
Well, not only
It's going to be a never-ending cycle.
Not only did they buff Thunderlords to make it more appealing, they buffed everything else that you might already want in the tree to make it even more appealing. Because the issue was you were going something else like in the Frosty tree, either Deathfire Touch or Fervor or something else, and now you made it so much more appealing. I think that Thunderlords is going to get nerfed real hard very soon because everyone's going to start using it. Because everyone who starts playing it, I've talked to, has been like, "Oh yeah, this is great. Why didn't we realize it was good from the start?"
Yeah, I've been using it just about in every champion. Hell, I only have one mastery tree, and it's on Thunderlord's Decree right now. Because of how much extra damage it does ganking or just trading in lane. Renekton with this is stupid. Anybody you can get any kind of damage, just damaging abilities off in an auto attack.
I was using it with Jax. I wasn't even using Fervor Battle.
Oh, I can see that working really well too.
It's a great tool, and I think part of the reason why it might be underutilized right now is whenever somebody reads the tooltip, what's it at now? 20 seconds from 25, or
it was 30 to 20.
30 to 20 or 30 to 25. They just buffed it again to 20. Okay,
it's 20.
Yeah. All right. So now that it's at 20, I think people still look at it and be like, "Oh, something I can only use 20 seconds, like every 20 seconds. This isn't as good as damage I could be doing the entire time, except." If you're trading intelligently and you can like go in and quickly get out, having a lot of upfront burst right away can be really, really, really good. Especially if then you can, Well, I mean, it's a good thing in that, hey, if you have enough damage to burst somebody down, it helps you burst them down even faster. Or B, when people are getting bursted, a lot of people panic.
No one's gonna go forward; they run backwards.
Yeah. So, like anything, especially in lower elo, anything that you can use to make somebody panic is pretty good because, I mean, when you start playing against people that are way better than you, or, you know, if you're gold high or whatever, at your level, they're more comfortable when certain things happen. But if somebody doesn't or isn't expecting to take a bunch of damage once every 20 seconds, and all of a sudden you jump in and you do a chunk of their health and they're like, what the heck was that? If they don't know about Thunderlord's Decree, you're going to be doing a lot of damage. Like over the course of a minute, you get to proc this thing 3 times if you're using it correctly. That's a lot of damage.
And that Thunderlord's Decree brought to you by Sean's Soapbox.
Sorry, I had to do it. And the funny thing is I barely use this because I've been screwing around with other stuff. But I do like Thunderlord's Decree a lot.
Yeah, me and Pone have been like huge proponents of it so far. But happy to see somebody's been converted to our side.
Just in time for Star Wars, he's come over to the dark side. Welcome.
Right.
Really?
Also, it's interesting 'cause if you're able to take this on junglers as well, like jungler assassins come back up, that means if you gank an assassin lane that also has this, you have 20% more damage. You have 10% increase from your jungler, you 10% increase from your laner too. That gank, like assassin ganks don't work because they can flash and get away and not die because you don't have enough damage. But suddenly you have 10% more damage. Your laner wants to go Thunderlord's Decree because he wants to do more damage, and he has it. That's another 10% damage. They flash while Ignite's ticking, and they die, and you're like, they feel bad, and you come back again and do it
What
again.
are you going to do when Kha'Zix jumps out from the jungle and LeBlanc jumps on you and both proc double Thunderlord's Decree in your face for instant
You panic,
death?
flash, and die to an Ignite under your own tower. That's what
there you
happens.
go. I love it. I love that scenario. I hope somebody sends us a video of that exact scenario.
Okay. Let's talk about the next Keystone Mastery. I guess technically, I was having a conversation with Bao the other day, and he mentioned that all of the 1-point masteries are supposed to be keystones, or right is referring to them as keystones, but the final one is your tier 3 keystone. And there was like some weird internal, and yeah, that's how, because they referred to them that way in a patch notes at one point, because they added new keystone masteries, but they weren't the final keystones. I don't know, it was really weird. I was like, I don't believe that, but I'll just take your word for it.
I don't think that's right, but it doesn't really matter that much.
So we're going to talk about the other Keystone Mastery here. Windspeaker's Blessing. Heals and Shields now grants flat armor and MR based on level instead of increasing resistances by 15%. So now you gain 5 to 22 armor and 2.5 to 11 MR total.
Based on level, yeah.
Based on level.
This was real dumb at start. Like, it's still probably going to be the obvious, like, Soraka, Sona mastery, unless you play like Daze and are just going to burst people down. You'll probably go something else.
Deathfire Touch.
You'll probably go Deathfire Touch on it. No, she'll probably go Thunderlords because that's all we're talking about. But it's still really good. Like, you're getting just free resistances on your lane partner, on anyone you're healing. Especially still Soraka ult is going to give you all those resistances for, I think it's 3 seconds, which it's getting a little nerf to helping your tankier champions on the heals, because obviously 50% resistance is going to help those more than the 80 carries. But you're helping the 80 carries a little bit more, who you're probably going to be focusing on healing more in the first place. So I think that's kind of what they're trying to go for, is say, hey, prioritize your heals better, and we're helping you out with that a little bit.
The problem I have with this is what I've always had, even with Soraka, is giving people passive stats. It's never fully appreciated. So if you heal someone or you touch them with a spell or shield and you give them a passive 22 armor or whatever, they're not going to know they have it unless there's like this giant shield over top of their head, and then they realize what that shield means. So like, while these are great in theory, they never work in practice in a solo queue environment, because people aren't going to stay in the fight longer when they're getting these shields. That
also depends on the level of play, though.
That's true.
I mean, the more knowledgeable player you're playing with is going to, I mean, you can see what your teammate has chosen as far as keystones go, so they can see that you're playing with Soraka, so you should know that when Soraka heals, you're tankier by default. So that's the time when you trade.
Yeah, you should be paying attention.
I do see what you're saying, where this can be very underappreciated for someone who doesn't pay attention to that stuff.
Paying attention to what people's masteries are, because you can, like you say, you can see that, and that's very new to season 6 compared to everything else. Like, you couldn't, unless you like LOL King'd or OPGG'd your opponents, which I guess if you really wanted to, you could check what they were all going, but now you can see the keystone, which is the most important one. You can, and know what they're going to be better at doing. So recognize that.
Resolve Tree. Unyielding. Bonus armor and MR reduced to 1 to 5% from 1.2 to 6%. So a nice direct nerf to Mundo there, getting a little bit less armor and magic resist. And power, movement speed in Brush and River increased to 15 from 12. Veterans
Explorer?
Say Explorer. Did I say Veteran Scars?
You said Empower.
Explorer.
Don't know how I did
Explorer.
Power your boots.
Veteran Scars now gives 9, 18, 27, 36, 45 health from 0.8 to 4%. So you get a flat amount of health with Veteran Scars rather than a percentage of it, which is your tier 3.
Poor tanks, man.
Sad. That makes me super sad.
Yeah, another one that hurts Mundo. And dude, that dude is so strong right now and so fast out of the jungle. He needed these nerfs. Bond of Stone, base damage reduction increased to 3% from 2%. Damage reduction and damage transfer when near allies lowered to 6% from 8%. This is the second time they've changed Bond of Stone in 2 patches. I'm assuming they're just trying to find that nice middle
Sweet
ground.
spot.
Yeah. I would say this is probably the sweet spot here, is 3 and 6% rather than 2 and 8%, because 2 was really low and 8 is a lot to be taken from somebody.
I agree with that.
So we'll have to see how that plays out. I haven't really seen that much Bond of Stone. Where's
I still
Daze?
have.
I guess
Seen it just about every game.
No,
still.
I've seen it on pretty much every tanky support, and a lot of top laners were taking it. And I mean, this is actually kind of a buff to those top laners that would take it anyways, because if you're playing a tanky top laner, there's not a ton of masteries that really help you out a
Grasp
lot.
of the Undying, seriously.
Grasp of the Undying is good too.
So
Yeah.
good. Grasp of the Undying is stupid good right now. If you're not using that if you don't pick Thunderlords, pick Grasp of the Undying.
I've seen a Thresh pick up that. It was pretty painful.
Was that the one that did all the damage? All
And
of it to me?
hit every hook. Yeah, it was that guy.
All right, yeah. Some Thresh the other day hit every hook on me. We're pretty sure it was Grasp of the Undying. Don't know exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was. I remember seeing that.
Auto attacked me for 1,000 damage. I was playing Zach
gross.
With his
Wasn't
passive.
fun. Yeah, was not enjoyable. That
That guy was too good. Screw that guy.
Yeah. I've never been in a game where I've not enjoyed playing Zach. Try playing Zach into a Thresh that is way above everybody else that you're in the teams with.
He was at
pay
that
grade.
level of play where he would anticipate where you're going to dodge.
Yeah.
Like the correct play was to not move when he threw his hook. Because if I tried moving, I would just move into the hook.
He didn't miss a single one. It was I do not usually give kudos to people for a good Thresh play. This dude was on another level. It was great. He kicked my ass.
Scary.
Yeah, I was very scared.
We have
the whole
scars.
time. Forever. I don't think I want to play Zach ever again.
Okay, so they're changing some of the jungle camps too. Greater Merc Wolf has a base HP of 1300 from 1320, but has a base armor increased by 1 from 10 to 9 or 10 from 9. Does this change really matter much difference if you are gaining the flat, with precision? You're gaining more armor penetration through precision. Doesn't this?
You're starting out with 2 extra armor pen, so
you actually do
that offsets it a little bit.
So offsets it by 1. So you're actually, this is a giant. If you're taking precision, this is a big buff for you. You gain 2 extra armor pen. They're increasing by 1. Means you gain 1 extra armor pen on the
big difference.
It's a pretty big difference when out of the jungle.
Next one's a bigger one.
Ancient Krug 14. They gained 10 life, but the base armor has been decreased to 10 from 12.
Yeah, that one's the one you're going to damage a lot harder, really quick. But you only have to deal with 2 minions there as opposed to 3 with wolves.
But people forget the little Krug does about the same amount of damage as the big one. So being able to kill these faster is still nice.
It does.
Yeah.
Stupid Krugs.
I like the
It's
next
Crumps,
change.
man.
Yeah,
I like
this
one a lot.
Now, Rift Herald has had a change. Now drops a relic you can pick up to get the buff rather than it going to whoever killed it. Both teams.
This
can
is
see
the
relic,
greatest.
but
That's so
only
good.
team who got the Rift Herald kill can pick it up.
Do you know how many times that I have been fighting Rift Herald and I'm jungling and I get that buff because somebody's paranoid or the enemy team's coming and I need to smite it or whatever, and we end up killing it. But there I am with
Or you're
something
tanking
that
it
is
forever, and you're like, take it.
that is way better on a top or mid laner because they can actually use it the entire duration of the buff. Mm-hmm. This is a huge, awesome change for the buff.
It is, but it's only if they still kill it because they have to kill it to be able to pick it up.
That's fine.
Your team.
Your
Yeah.
team has to.
It's your team. Yeah, it doesn't. It's
Oh, yeah, that's true. Both
so what's
teams
cool is
can do
the picture they have there. It spawns like right inside of the entrance, so it's not right where the Rift Herald dies. It actually
It's at
spawns a
the
little bit
entrance.
towards the exit. So you can wait. I don't know how long it's gonna stay.
You can drive by the Rift Herald spot and pick up the buff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one because then now I can actually use my smite and secure it. 'Cause
Yeah.
that was probably the biggest
issue.
deterrence I had of going for the Rift Herald was I couldn't secure it with smite.
It actually made it a little bit risky because if you wanted one of the people that were going to be able to actually utilize this buff in the most effective way possible, and the enemy team was rolling up to kill it, kind of got a little dicey if you couldn't use smite to secure, because like, sure, you could smite to secure and then you have a buff that isn't going to be that great on you because you're going back into the jungle and you only get the benefits out of it if you show yourself, which relieves a whole bunch of pressure that you're applying.
You can't even gank with it because the minions become buffed when you're standing in the bush and waiting.
Yep.
Yeah.
The minions know.
Another change here, Rift Scuttler. Gold on kill increased to 70 from 50.
Heyo. That's helpful.
So basically getting control of Rift Scuttler means more than more now with this than it ever has.
And it should make you want to get Rift Scuttler after you've cleared either 2 or 3 of your jungle camps.
Yep. That's actually something I notice a lot of people don't do, and I love to do, especially if you're playing a really, really strong duelist. Clear 2 camps and then go take that Rift Scuttler, because as long as you're at a decent amount of health, don't do it if you're at really low health, because that's just asking to get murked by whoever's jungling on the enemy team. You can get in some really fun fights and maybe get a kill if you know what you're doing on a jungler at Rift Scuttler 1v1, especially if your team's paying attention and they can show up too. It's great. So this just got even better in that you get 20 extra gold for it for every kill.
Was there a compensation for taking off that 35 gold you got from killing it as a jungler with the, what was it? It was with machete, right? Before the preseason, you got 35 gold for killing it if you had machete?
I believe it was something around that, yeah.
Did they compensate anyway for that before this change?
No.
Do you know?
Then they
That's
increased
actually a
jungle
really good
items
question.
too.
Yeah.
Experience. You get bonus experience instead.
Okay.
You get 15%, or sorry, plus 15 bonus experience on large minion kill with machete.
Is Rift Scuttler considered a large minion?
I don't know how much experience you get off that.
I don't think it is.
I don't either.
Either way, though, one thing I saw with Rift Scuttler in a video just recently, it's actually kind of nice if you have machete and you're saying, well, I'm kind of low, but I feel pretty safe. I'm going to go over and hit it. And you get a bunch of life off that because you get the life from on the kill, like with every big camp. But also, all those auto attacks are going to be doing a ton to help get you way more healthy, and then you can go gank or another camp if you don't want to go back. And
that's one of my that's one of my favorite things to do. Starting blue side, kill Gromp straight to blue, go down to Rift Scuttler, ward the bush, because usually you clear right before it spawns. You'll ward the bush past dragon toward the mid lane. You start between that bush and Rift Scuttler, and you just knock Rift Scuttler down towards your bottom lane so that you can kill that, get the extra money, get that extra XP, and then you have your bottom laners there able to roll up and help you if anything goes crazy. And you know if the enemy jungler is coming up behind you. So it's a pretty safe way to get a little extra gold and a little extra XP.
Or you can gank that bot lane because they might not ward that early. And if you're like Lee Sin,
my other favorite thing to do. Sneak right in, and that's another big thing. They don't gank. They don't ward bot lane very frequently like that, and because you're already in that area and you're kind of watching what's going on, because you can kind of kill Rift Scuttler brain dead as all hell if you just want to roll around behind it and you keep it pushing towards bottom lane. You're already heading that way, and if you know they're not warded, you can just pick up money.
Yeah, if I'm playing support, I don't ward the bottom river
for a while
before 3:30 or 3 minutes. I just don't
expect it.
Yeah, you're warding the lane bush. So like an early gank bot like that can really sway. It can super sway bottom lane.
Double kill, first blood, yay!
One thing I think that's
world.
also careful is that I think Rift Scuttler still spawns at the same time as it did last season, but your jungle camps spawn way earlier, like the full 15 seconds. So I don't know if I thought I saw in that same video that you actually like would have to wait a little bit right after.
Depends how quickly
clearing
you
those first
clear.
two camps.
It depends on the clear.
Of
Like
course.
on champions that clear really, really quick, you can actually get there 10 seconds before Rift Scuttler spawns, so there's no point in going to it right then. You can go clear wolves, run right down, take that back if you need to, or keep rolling. By the time you kill Rift Scuttler, you're usually back to 3/4, if not full health, just because of whatever jungle item you chose.
And you've gained a lot of your mana back because you've had blue on you too.
Yep. You'll have your entire mana bar back. So that like you definitely need to know the sort of jungler you're playing. Of all things, I think I've had the most luck clearing stupid quickly with Volley Bear right now. Because I showed up, I was like, oh, I'll just get Rift Scuttler. Volley can't clear super fast, and I'm there 10 seconds early, and I'm like, okay, this was a giant waste of time. I wasn't paying attention. I'm bad.
Mine was Mundo. I cleared so quickly that I had time to clear 3 camps and make it there before it spawned.
It's pretty interesting that I feel that tank junglers right now clear faster than any other jungler I'm playing. I don't know what it is.
They can survive, and they're actually a lot of them can do a ton of damage.
It's super damage early. It's crazy.
Well, you got Volibear. He gets a free attack speed steroid by having W and then a percentage of life damage. It's pretty easy to clear when you're attacking so damn quickly.
In the past, it hasn't been as easy, and there were even times like if you didn't get that Grid of a Leash, you might pop your passive just by doing a camp. But now it's not that way at all. Now you're at half health by the time you kill blue if you're starting at Grom. So I don't know. There's some interesting stuff going on. So Riot probably needs to look at tanks a bit. Which it seems like they're doing with these masteries.
Yeah,
the master changes.
A lot of the really OP ones did get touched. I know we didn't get a lot into specifically those champions, but a lot of those tanky ones did get touched. Besides just the masteries.
Can you believe
which is a good thing?
Can you believe that Hecarim's passive no longer ignores unit collision?
I know, which was a big gimmick for that champion. You know,
top lane, yeah.
Home
start, which is home guard, you can't teleport with it anymore. Teleporting removes the speed buff.
Really?
No. That's the same as what the home start's the thing you get at the beginning of the game.
The very beginning of the game.
Oh, right.
It doesn't affect home guard. You still have your teleport. You still get the speed off teleport. There's nothing really to note about that.
That's right. So you can't start and teleport somewhere and to get really fast and hurt somebody.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that happen though?
At level 1?
Never.
Yeah.
Bots!
Never. Yeah.
Of course. They take down all the bots.
I've never seen that happen.
That's because
last time I've seen someone teleport at the beginning of the game was season 1 where you drop all the wards mid lane and then you take the first turret.
Yep.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's some throwback.
What are you guys talking about in chat? What did I miss?
DeClaude made puns for about every sword in chat right now is DeClaude as a pun from him.
All right, well I'm ignoring that then. I'm so glad that he's in chat making puns. If you missed it, you guys need to come and watch us live and do the pun thingy with DeClaude.
They're really impressive because now that he doesn't have to talk, he can just focus on puns and make really, really good ones. Like really good ones. I'm impressed.
I'm glad you guys are entertained. Instead of doing the podcast, you're listening to DeClaude. Of course, he just can't help but derail it. Doesn't matter where he's at.
I don't like patch notes.
He did say that up front.
Yeah.
Well, he did warn us, but I also didn't know what we were going to talk about tonight other than a little bit about community and stuff. So, hey, it all worked out in the end. So, we're going to wrap that up.
Okay.
All right, well, good. Yeah, because you're going to have to talk about them and take care of them while we're out for the next couple of weeks doing interviews.
Yes, sir.
So that's we're gonna wrap it up there. We would normally go in for the rest of them, but we'll leave that up to all the other podcasts out there to take care of that. So go find your favorite or find a new favorite with somebody else.
Sam, for clarity's sake, where can we find you guys again?
So if you just iTunes, Stitcher, whatever podcasting app you're using, League of Legends Anonymous podcast, you can go on our website lolapodcast.com, which is easier. And then you can see all of our stuff there. Search LOLA Podcast for all the social media. You can find us there as well. It's pretty easy. Yep. Nice, short, easy plug.
Easy enough. Guys, that's episode number, what's that, 316? Yeah. Cheer up.
Yeah.
That's episode 316.
I know. All right, so running joke for those of you who don't know, after every show, the first thing that comes out of anyone's mouth is, what episode was that again? And it's always me. So
it's anybody.
I
taking care of that now. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, don't forget to check that out, guys. TeeSpring.com/King DeClaude. Help us out. King DC, rather. Go buy a t-shirt. Help out MS Society. Give us some more money to donate. Or it's not even we're donating. We're just letting them take all the money.
It's for a great. Yeah, we're throwing the money at them. It's for a great cause. You get a sweet shirt for many people's favorite member of the show. So please go and help out. It's greatly appreciated.
Cool, guys. That's it. That's episode number 316. Thank you so much for listening, guys. See you next week with more guests. Peace.
See ya.